Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
Hi everyone, how you doing all? Hi everyone in the chat. Hi Jefferson, how you know it? How's it going? Been a while since I've been live, hasn't it? Let's just turn that down so I can't hear it. Don't get any feedback. Really weird seeing me on a big screen up there. Really, really weird. Hi everyone, I'm back after my break. Thanks very much for all your well wishes. For my mum, she's out of hospital and yeah, she's looking well. So thanks very much for all your well wishes. I've had plenty of them and I really appreciate it. Hi Titch, hi Emmy, how are you? I've got Taylor Hudak Skyping in about 30 minutes. So I better get cracking because I've got a lot to get to. I want to catch up because I've been sort of out of action over the last 2 weeks. I haven't really been paying much attention to the news. So for the last couple of days, now I'm back here and I'm starting to pay attention to it again. I've had to catch up on the news and catch up on what the propaganda is saying and keeping an eye on that. So I went over to the BBC website today and I had a look, and this is the BBC website. It's a bit small. See if I can make it bigger for you. It's over here. So this is the BBC website. So this is the BBC website today, a few hours ago. And as you can see there, they're saying the top story is the coronavirus. Now, there are two different ways of thinking about this coronavirus. Let me just turn that off so I can get back. Two different ways of thinking about this coronavirus. People think it's the worst thing in the world and it's going to kill everyone. And other people think it's nothing to worry about. Now, I've looked into it, and to be quite honest, it's about as scary as the flu is, which doesn't seem that scary until you realise, hold on, wait a minute. What about the Spanish flu? That was a flu. It's got flu in it. Well, I did some looking into it, and the Spanish flu, which is about a century ago it hit, affected 27%. 27% up to, this is the stats that I've found, contracted the Spanish flu back 100 years ago. That's over 1 in 4 people. Okay? And it killed as many, historians think, as many as up to 5.3% of the global population. This is just a flu, right? As many as 5.3% of the population. Now, much like the coronavirus, the Spanish flu killed the very, very old and the very young, the weak. Killed off the weak people. If you extrapolate those figures out to, the global population today, because back then there was only between, I think, 1.8 and 1.9 billion people on the planet. It's a century ago. Now, there's 7.7 billion people on the planet. And if you say, right, okay, let's say the coronavirus does turn into a pandemic, which it very well could do. It's fucking scary, this is. It really is when you look into it. That would work out to be about 400 million people dead in this country. About 400 million. No, not in this country. Obviously not in this country. In the world. It would extrapolate out to be about 400 million people in the world dead if it was something like the Spanish flu a century ago, if it turns into that. That is, just to give you a rough estimation of how many people that is, that's the entire population of the United Kingdom, Russia, Germany, France and South Korea combined. Still think the flu, this coronavirus isn't a threat? If somebody asked me not long ago, about 6 months ago, what I think would be the main thing that would kill people off, and I said probably a virus. So I get the other side of people saying, it only affects like 2%, only 2% of people who contract the virus die, but if it affects 25, if it affects 1 in 4 of the people on this planet, if it turns into a pandemic and does go that far, that's going to be a lot of people who die. 400 million people, that's more than the entire population of the United States. So that's number one. It's scary, the news is. It really is. It's scary. So that's the top story. Now the next story, as you can see up there, is UK prepared to walk away in June if no progress. This is a story on Brexit. Brexit is still in the news. There have been periods in the last couple of years since I've been doing this that I've had to take a break from the news and come back after 10 days. I've just had one because of a personal problem that I've that had to take care of. Family comes first. And I've come back to the news. And there's been periods where I've taken a break from the news and just not worried about it, and then came back into it a week or two later. And Brexit, for me, is like EastEnders. Now, I don't watch EastEnders, but I do go around my mum's quite often to see how she's doing, and she washes her soaps. And occasionally, I go around there 7:30, 8 o'clock or whatever, whenever EastEnders is on, and she's watching it, and I catch some of it. It only happens every about 6 months or so, but I catch some of it. But what I notice with it is, even though it's 6 months apart when I do catch any episodes of EastEnders, they're still talking about the same bloody thing as they were 6 months earlier. That is how I feel about Brexit right now. It's a soap opera. They're going to be talking about this in 2146. The next item that the BBC say that you all should know about is actually, I thought, my God, are they going to actually educate people here? Are they going to do one of the three things that they're, remitted to do in their charter? The story there you can see, our takeaway is really as bad for you as you think. I thought, great. Are they as bad for you as I think? Maybe, maybe this is good. They'll maybe do some good reporting here on, on the food channels in this country. Maybe they'll do some good reporting and educate the people. No, it turned out it was a journalist who was basically tracking the health of people if they ate a curry every week. A curry a week is not going to kill you. A takeaway a week is not going to kill you. It's not going to be that bad. It really isn't. Furthermore, wouldn't it be a better use of taxpayer money if maybe they had talked about the implications of mass-produced food in this country? Because the reason why this story, I was hopeful about it, was because I've actually recently been, I've started thinking about being the change that I want to see in the world. So I like a curry. I love a takeaway. I used to anyway, but I haven't had a Chinese takeaway in quite a while now. I had, I think, one or two before Christmas, but for a good few months, I used to have at least one a week, and I don't anymore. And the reason being is because I've started cooking my own. And I've got to the stage now, you only need to watch a few YouTube videos on how to do it, where you can cook a takeaway meal better than any takeaway I've had. That's for sure. And not only that, but then you can start looking at the ingredients that go into it. Instead of buying the cheap chicken, you can actually get, free range chicken, etc., and the vegetables that go in it, you can get organic and farmed locally, etc. And I've really been looking into it. So the reason why I was looking into it so much is because I know somebody in the import and distribution industry of the mass food, of specifically meat in this country, and the way our food is produced and then mass produced rather, and sent off to the supermarkets in this country. And like I say, I know somebody who drives one of these big articulated lorries, the ones with the sleeper cabin that Jeremy Clarkson says is where these lorry drivers keep dead prostitutes that they've killed. It's huge, this thing is, and he delivers this food up and down the country to supermarkets all over the country. With that in mind, I've got a question for you. If you do eat these ready meals from Morrison's or Sainsbury's or Asda or whatever your supermarket is, which one's the best? Which one of these ready meals do the best, value for money? Because I've got some news for you if you think one of them is better than the other. From what my contact says, they're pretty much all manufactured and distributed from the same place. They've just got a different sleeve on. It's the same food essentially, just packaged in a different way and put out by whatever supermarket as their own brand. That's essentially what it is, and it's not great quality. I'll give you a little story that he told me about with regards to the quality of it. There was one quality control inspector that he knows, and he said that she's a very attractive woman in her 40s, early 50s, etc. She's very slim, athletic, etc. And the one day he was making a delivery, and he says, "How do you stay fit eating all this? How do you stay, trim, look at eating all this?" And the quality control inspector for this warehouse or whatever it was that he was delivering to said, "This food? I wouldn't feed that my dog." And that's the quality control inspector talking about the food that they distribute to the supermarkets and sell to you and I. Wouldn't feed it her dog. There were other horrible stories about how we waste the food that we eat. Waste the food that we produce. There was one company that I heard throw away 5,000 of these ready meals every week. Throw them away because they're like a half ounce or an ounce under what it says on the packet. They have to throw them away. They used to give them old folks' homes, but according to my guy, government legislation changed that, and now they have to throw them away instead of giving them away to the old folks' homes. I'm going to do some investigating on that. And if I find out some lobbyists used health and safety so that they made more money from mass producing this food and throwing it away, I'm going to lose my shit. And there's other things that I've found out about. For instance, do you like kebabs? Because I love a good kebab. But I promise you I'll never eat another one after hearing this conversation. You know, when a carcass is, carcass of a pig and what have you is put on the rack, and you can see the meat and you can see the muscle. It doesn't actually look like that when they first hang it up. There's a subterraneous covering of fat around it that they have to cut off with a knife, and it just cuts off and falls in a big bucket. And the one day he picked up 48 pallets, a ton each, to deliver to a supermarket. So that's 48 tons of beef and lamb fat that he picked up. And as he picked it up, these 48 tons that he delivered to one place, I think it was up north, he asked the guy, what did they use this in? He says, this. Oh, yeah, it's what they put in kebabs. That's why when you eat a kebab, it's all greasy. That's what it is. They put it in there with a load of other rubbish, mix it all together with some spices, and then whack it on a spit. And that's why you taste so good on a Friday night when you're coming home from the pub. I'll never have another one again. And as for what he told me about cheese that goes on pizza, these frozen pizzas, etc., and into cheese spread, if you like all of these things, if you like eating all these things, when I do my videos about them in the coming months, you don't want to watch them, because I guarantee you are not going to be eating them going forward. The reason I've been looking into this is because, like I say, I want to be the change that I want to see in the world, and I've been looking more and more about how, as a country, we're going to have to start utilising what we have and the workforce we have. And that means going back to, farming our own vegetables. And if we drive it, the people, if we demand that it's farm fresh from this country that we eat, then the prices will go down, and eventually we will start eating good quality food instead of having the media fear-mongering that we're all going to be eating acid-washed or chlorinated chicken after Boris Johnson does his trade deal with America. We're not. I'm not anyway. I won't fucking eat it. It's as simple as that. And if we all said that we won't eat it, then guess what? They won't try and sell it to us because they won't be able to make any money from it. It's us that have got to be the change. And I was hopeful that BBC article was going to actually say something about that and have a message going forward. This is what we need to do if we're actually going to fight the problems that we face and solve the problems that we face as a country going into the 21st century, or the second decade of it, or third decade of it rather. But no, it's all about, you might put on a few pounds, A curry a week is not going to kill you. But there are better ways to get your curries. And that's what I was hoping that they would do, but they didn't anyway. But what can you expect from propagandists who are, they're propagandizing the propagandized, you, and then charging them for it? What do you expect from it? In other news, we've got the financial crisis, impending financial crisis. This week has been the worst week for Wall Street since the 2008 financial crash, and everybody's losing their crap, especially with the coronavirus around, because that is making markets very, very shaky. And maybe that financial crash that we've been expecting, or certainly I have since the yields inverted last year or whatever it is, maybe it's going to happen sooner rather than later. In sport, I told you, the news is nuts at the moment. Nuts. In sport, Sir Mo Farah forgot that he took some injections that the Great British team gave him, not Salazar, the Great British team gave him, that they didn't document, that apparently they got from somewhere abroad. I think it was Switzerland. Forgot. I went to watch Mo Farah once run at Birmingham Alexander Stadium a few years back, and it was a great experience. If ever you get a chance to go and watch athletics, go and watch it, support it, because support the clean runners anyway. He's tiny. Mo Farah is. Honestly, tiny. He's that big. He's one of those people that no matter where he is in relation to you, in location to you, he looks like he's far away. He can be standing 5 foot away. He looks further away than he really is. And I really hope this does not end up in another Lance Armstrong story. I really hope, because he inspired a lot of people, Mo Farah did. And I'm hoping that he deserved that knighthood. Less said about that, the better. We'll see going forward. Over in America, oh no, let's give you an update from, let's stick with this country, because here's the latest from Mirror Politics. Labour must fight the Tories, not amongst ourselves, urges Keir Starmer. To which I said, has Keir Starmer and Tom Perez, who is DNC chair over in America, ever been seen in the same place at the same time? Because starting to sound a lot like each other, aren't they? Do you think after he wins, him and all the other candidates will do a tour, a unity tour, to try and, get everybody together, which basically means to the left of the party, yeah, screw you, get in line with us centrists, we're the ones who are running the show now. Bye-bye, your hero Jeremy Corbyn. Honestly, it's basically at the moment, if you look at their answers as to, the leaders, the challenge, the leaders going for the Labour leadership, rather, the challenges for the Labour leadership, if you look at what they said their main priorities were, 3 of them said tackling anti-Semitism, and the other one said, Emily Thornberry said, uniting the party. They're basically a wholly owned subsidiary right now of AIPAC, or whatever the British equivalent of it is. Over in America, meanwhile, updating you on what's happened around the world, over in America, Michael Bloomberg, I think it's Michael Bloomberg, is it? Bloomberg, he's basically bought the Democratic National Committee by the look of it. He's basically bought it, I think. He's given them a load of money and they've let him into the debates. He's not actually in any of the primaries or caucuses until Super Tuesday. But they let him into the debate, and then in the debate, they charged a minimum of $1,750 a seat to actually get into that televised debate the other night, in which they started to boo Bernie Sanders and cheer for Michael Bloomberg. I'm betting, it's obvious, you see, that to me that they would boo Bernie Sanders, because I'm betting that they all had brilliant healthcare and he represented nothing that appealed to them. Because, let's face it, they're all, if it was $1,750 a seat, they're all going to be detached millionaires or billionaires, aren't they? Just so you know, in the UK, how ridiculous it is what's going on in America right now with their DNC, with the DNC. It's the equivalent of Sir Alan Sugar parachuting into the Labour leadership contest because he gives the Labour Party a load of money and then floods the airways with advert after advert after advert as to how great he is and how crap the other people are. But there's obviously no need for Alan Sugar to do that over here because there's not a left candidate going for the Labour leadership race. This is something else that's going on over there. Something I saw. This is Greg Palast, the great Greg Palast, the man who said that Donald Trump wasn't so much elected as selected. He listens to what he says about what he's found about the 2016 primary. This is when Bernie Sanders was cheated. When Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton won the race. Take a listen to this.
Bernie Sanders in 2016 supposedly lost by 200,000 votes. That's pretty substantial. But it's the biggest state in America.
40 million
people.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are millions of voters. What happened? Well, what they don't tell you is that 750,000 votes were never counted. I told you about those votes that get thrown away. 750,000 votes in California in the 2016 primary were never counted. Almost all of them were cast by a certain type of voter. That is what's called the independent voter, or in California they have a fancy term, no party preference voter.
Well, I
NPP
found out
voter.
I was an NPP.
You're an NPP,
Yes.
and you were taking your NPP and you were trying to vote, and
Well,
they wouldn't let you.
now
That's what they were doing back 4 years ago. And it's only just being uncovered now. Greg Palast is a great journalist. You know, so they're only finally getting the details now. 750,000 people, 3 out of 4 of them voted for Bernie. That wins him California. It's a very different race then. They cheated him in 2016, and they're cheating him again now. And they're going to continue cheating. I keep saying it. He's not a Democrat in good standing. They made that rule for a reason. So that's over in America. What's happening over there? Let's have some other news as well from the UK, because this was from the Foreign Office. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Every day the UK is working to protect and promote human rights. And the story I haven't talked about right now, which really should be top of all of the mainstream media's coverage, is the coverage of the Julian Assange trial or hearing down in Woolwich Court in Belmarsh in London. That's really what they should be talking about. But of course they're not. And the Foreign Office say every day the UK is working to protect and promote human rights, whilst abdicating justice and human rights for a publisher for publishing the truth about war criminals that prove they were all lying war criminals. I mean, it's not just the Assange stuff that shows you just how hypocritical the Foreign Office are tweeting that out. Every day the US is working to protect democracy in the Middle East. Every day Saudi Arabia is working to protect the rights of the LGBTQ community. Every day Israel is working to protect unarmed Palestinians from being shot in the back. Lying is fun when you have no morals. Mentioned Julian Assange. District Judge, this is Matt Kennard. District Judge Vanessa Bautzer is being so punitive towards Assange that the US prosecution is clearly worried that the irregular and harsh conditions of the proceedings could force a mistrial. The prosecution, that's the people who want him extradited, are saying this is just too bad. This might cause a mistrial. What are you doing? What is going on? Taylor Hudak will be calling in a few minutes, hopefully, and she'll be updating us on really what should be the top story on the BBC website and all channels right now, because they're on trial. You know, journalism is on trial down there at that hearing. This is a publisher who published facts about criminals that proved they were criminals. And that's what he's on trial for, not just for the stuff that he's done, but obviously the secrets that he could be publishing and releasing right now. That's why they're holding him. That's why they've ejected him from his asylum in what John White calls an act of fascism. I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat for a couple of minutes before Taylor calls in. Just quickly turn that down, turn that off. Free up some space. I hope everybody's okay, by the way. I hope everybody's good. I hope you all haven't missed me too much. I'm back, baby. Let's have a look. Hi Joe, how are you? Joe Hickey says, is that why they are silent on the coronavirus lab in the middle of Wuhan? Who you would have thought that they would blame China for a biohazard leak, but they are not. I wonder why. Yeah, I've heard that as well, Joe. I heard somebody say that Wuhan is like the UK, is like China's Porton Down. I don't know how much truth there is in it though. That's the trouble. I've got to look into it. But this coronavirus is bloody serious, man. It really is. It could cause all manner of problems. You know, if you imagine if it becomes a pandemic and it really is an outbreak, what are we going to do to make sure that we secure the health and well-being of this country? We could literally just shut down the borders. It could get to that stage with a pandemic where we don't let anything in. And what are we going to do then for food? You know, we've got a nation of people that are used to grazing on hamburgers that they get imported from God knows where. All of a sudden, they're going to have to become gardeners, you know? Which is why I think us creating, you know, the market for these, for food and products that are actually grown and built in this country is key to our future, really. Let's have a revenue. Here we go. Monetization. Super chats. I know I saw one come in. Rob Janot says, not much, but sincerely offered. Just thanks very much, Rob. It may not seem much, but it is, mate. It all adds up for me. It really does. I can't do this without your support, remember, and I really appreciate it. Have a look, G. It's a bioweapon, says Joe. We'll see, Joe. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I want to make sure that we have evidence and things going forward, and I want to make sure I'm reporting on what we know rather than what we're surmising. That's why I haven't really looked into it too much, but I know it's serious. It really is serious. Good to see you back, Gordon says Bazza1382. It's good to be back, mate. Thank you. Steve G. Rees, hi GD, good to see you again. Thanks, mate, very much, guys. I'm really, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Yeah, she's, Joe, hi G, how's your mum doing? She's out, Joe. Everything's going to be okay, by the look of it. It was a scary, scary, scary scare. When a family member, when a loved one is ill, it really makes you take stock of what's important in life, and really makes you know, a little bit of a reality check to say, hey, don't forget, family first, then your friends, then your community, and then save the world. You know, it does. It's a bit of a, gives you a bit of a reality check. I heard clonation doesn't actually kill anything, it just makes testing impossible. Is that on the chickens you're talking about, Andrew Taylor? I don't think I'd like chicken washed in chlorine. Why are they washing chicken in chlorine, you know? Yeah, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. See, people hear that Ali Hussein says depopulation agenda, coronavirus is weaponized. How do we know that, mate? You're just, you know, you're making making assertions. We don't know yet. Let's look at what we know. You know. It's serious. We know that. Whether it's weaponized or not, it's serious, and it could cause all manner of things. It could, you know, it could turn into a pandemic. And if it turns into a pandemic, and you know, the same sort of statistics as a Spanish flu, and who says that, you know, it might not be the coronavirus that does this, but I'm sure the country has got some sort of safeguards as to what we do in that situation. But I think we're probably pretty close to triggering those safeguards. Washed in chlorine because the factory farms are so disgusting. And well, you know what? that's one of the reasons then why we shouldn't have chlorine washed chicken. Not necessarily for the health reasons, but we should reject it because we should reject the way that they treat these animals. There's a line in, I like Star Trek, there's a line in it that was, I think it was Will Riker who said it, and they were asking about meat, some civilization was, and he says, we no longer enslave animals for food purposes. It's a really good line. Made me stop and think, enslaving animals for food purposes. There you go, Leonard Hand, chlorinated chicken's fat is carcinogenic. The chlorine binds to fat, and when fried, it has been proven to cause a list of health issues. Geordie LaForge. To you, mate, too. Live long and prosper. Okay, all right, I'm just waiting for Taylor to phone in now, so I'm going to quickly switch over to my placard, and I shall be back in a couple of minutes, hopefully, with Taylor to give you an update on the hearings down in London. Back in just a second, a couple of minutes.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
In my dreams, I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks. Doing hard time for these WikiLeaks. Trying to bring the truth out, man, it only gets you weak. And then they gag you. You don't get to speak. And when you get the leak, they try to hit the leak. The masters of the masses, they want this shit to street. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites. Playing on the regular.
You keep the messenger.
Free speech is the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people want the red, while the blue you keep them in bed. Seeking the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leaks till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath a freeze a red sheet. Become a dead man, then I hit the switch and release. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs is your creditor.
You keep the messenger.
And outside my window a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey what my Mickey keeps. Dying in my kidneys weak. Silence of my risky tweets. What the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace like 7 years under threat. Cause I've released 7 vaults. They upset. They ended the rape sentence. But the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. And they'll pay the Gandhi. Take him and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great. Just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life, make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. You kill the messenger.
You kill the messenger.
Democracy dies in the darkness.
Darkness.
All right, hi everyone. I'm very, very sorry, but I've got some problem at the moment with my sound. I've got Taylor on the other line right now on Skype, ready to come in, but I can't hear her. I cannot get any sound, any volume at all. So I'm just wondering whether there's some sort of conflict with my other software that is running right now. Taylor, can you try speaking if we can hear you? I can't hear you. No, I cannot hear Taylor, everyone. We've got a massive technical problem here. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, Taylor. I don't know how to fix this problem, everybody. And I'm really, really sorry. I've got a lead in for Taylor and I don't know how to get any volume on my Skype. It was working fine yesterday or the day before yesterday and now I've got no volume whatsoever. I can get volume on everything else but not Skype for some reason. So I'm awfully sorry. I'm going to have to postpone this because I know Taylor's very busy and she's going to have to be elsewhere, I would have thought. Taylor, I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this problem. I cannot hear a word she's saying. She's up there and she's talking to me and she's smiling and she's looking very lovely, but we'll talk later. I'm going to have to postpone this. Hopefully I will get Taylor before. If I have to go down there in person and do this in person with the weekend, I will do. Okay? I'll send you a text, Taylor. I'm really sorry. Okay. I'm really sorry, everybody. I am really, really sorry. This is a technical problem. It's not the greatest. I feel so shit. I feel so like an amateur. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this problem out. I'm going to figure out what's causing this. Why all of a sudden I've got no sound on my Skype. I'm really sorry to everybody who's joined me tonight. technical problem. This is why I need help. I don't know what I'm doing with this technical shit, and it looks really, really embarrassing. I'm going to fix this. I shall see you all very, very soon. I'm really sorry. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.